mental health is something that we don't talk about enough. In the black community, we're massively overrepresented in the mental health institutions, even more so than in the prisons. And again, these are questions we have to ask. Well, why?
But once you get a control and an understanding of who you are, no one can use you against you. No one can ever use your mental illness against you. You've already spoke about it, so what you got?
The biggest point in life to resolve mental health is like giving a fuck about a person.
Where did you get the courage? I got the courage for 2 words. I care.
It's Chill Will Radio, where connections will be made, advice will be given, jokes will be told, and things will get real. My name is Willis Cooks, and I'm your host. But understand this show is not meant to be used as a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. Enjoy the show, y'all. Welcome, everyone. Hope you can hear me. I don't know what's going on. It's always some sort of malfunction going on the show. It's something, but we're going to figure it out together, and we're going to make it work together. We are going. I sound like I am good now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Chill Will Radio. Man, as I get these levels and all of this stuff tight together, get it in order, man. I hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's doing good. Welcome, everyone, to another episode, another dope episode. Man, there we go. Well, as always, man, thank you for everyone for tuning in. Thank you for all those individuals who are tuning in now. For those individuals who will be tuning in tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, whenever you get the time. Thank you to those individuals who decided to click the link in my bio and decided to listen to it, but you thought, hey, my voice was ugly, so you decided to go somewhere else. Good looking to you too, man. It's a thought that matters. The fact that you even thought about tuning in, I appreciate that so very much. Right? So, I wasn't here last week. I was in Paris. Paris is a very overrated place. Paris is a very overrated place. I'm more of the outdoorsy, adrenaline type of place. In Paris is, I don't know, all of the buildings looked like they had dungeons underneath them, and everything just did not look well. And the Eiffel Tower, just the tall building with lights, it was just kind of strange. But outside of that, everything has been fine. I got back, I got smacked in the face with a really bad fever, and I'm the type of person who does not take medicine, like at all. I will lie there. My plan initially was just to lie there in pain and just to deal with the fever, deal with the headache, deal with the chills, deal with the sweats, deal with like it all until I get better. Like, I'm not a fan of medicine at all, but it was too bad. I like to give a huge shouts out to my girl over here in the corner for taking care of me, because she looked out for her brother. She went off and came in the middle of the night, got some medicine that kind of, she forced me to take it because I was crying in the bed and had a headache and couldn't sleep. And so shouts out to you, girl. I love you. Good looking. Right? So moving on forward into the self-care piece. Right? Moving on forward into the self-care piece. One of the things that I have been doing thus far this week is watching a lot of anime. Right? And I like anime, right? Right now I'm watching this show on Netflix called The 7 Deadly Sins. Big on Dragon Ball, big on like a bunch of different sorts of animes. And when I was thinking about, what is going to be the self-care piece for the show, I thought about what I was doing this week. The one thing I was doing this week was just going back into my inner child. Right? So the one self-care piece that I want everyone to implement within their self-care regimen, go back into your inner child. Do the thing that you used to love to do as a kid, whether it's watch TV, whether it's play games, whether it's, I don't know, go to the park and get on the swings, whatever it is, right? The reason why that's important is because we as adults, we live a very busy life, a very hectic life. We have a shitload of responsibilities. The beautiful thing about being a child is that you're carefree. There's nothing there in your way that's causing you to really worry, right? And I believe, for all of those individuals who are not able to experience that, I thoroughly, apologize for that. But as a child, you're carefree. You have no responsibilities. Your only responsibility is to really have fun, right? You're eating cereal Saturday mornings, watching all the cartoons, doing all of those things, right? So for everyone, the self-care piece that I want everyone to implement within their self-care regimen, go back into your inner child, watch cartoons, play a game, do whatever. I remember a conversation I was having with my homeboys a few weeks ago, and we were speaking about the games that we used to play as kids, right? We used to play this game called Throw Up Tackle, right? It's a football game. Throw Up Tackle, you just throw the ball up in the air. Whoever catches the ball, they have to get tackled, right? On concrete. And then we used to have this rule in it called sideline pop, right? If you're on the sideline, and mind you, all of these tackle football games are being played on concrete. If you're on the sideline, you're going to have to get smacked. You're going to have to get popped. You might get popped into a pole, into a car, into a tree, onto somebody's lawn or bushes, like whatever it is. We also used to have this game called Suicide. Suicide is the most reckless game ever. You remember Suicide, Diddy? So the way Suicide used to work is you would have a ball, right? It'd be me and a group of other people, right? You would have a ball. The objective of the game is throw the ball at the wall, right? Whoever the ball touches, if it touches you or if you, whatever, if it touches you and you don't catch it, you have to run back and go touch the wall. But the thing that makes it, I guess, suicidal is that you have to avoid everybody that's playing because everyone gets to punch you on the way to the wall. So we all sock you as you run into the wall. So if you're going to touch the ball, you need to make sure you catch it. And if you don't catch it, you better run to the wall because you're getting socked up a bunch of times. That used to be the funnest game ever, man, just as a kid. And it's crazy because even in those sorts of things, you can't play that now. How dare I say, tell a bunch of middle school kids or elementary school kids to play that game in the 5th and 4th grade. Man, they parents are going to have a heartache. They going to be pissed. But as a kid growing up, you're not caring about nothing. You're not caring about the black eye. You're not caring about the pain. You're not caring about nothing. And that's the one thing that us as adults, I believe we sometimes forget. We forget how to be carefree, right? In actuality, that's one of the reasons why I like skydiving. Right, that's one of the reasons why I like skydiving, because when you're going up in the air on a plane, my brain is going through all of these different things, all of these different thoughts. But that second when the door opens up and I'm jumping out, like my brain is empty. Like there's literally, I only have one responsibility, which is pull this cord and make sure this parachute comes out. Right? But within that moment, my brain is empty. I am completely carefree. The only thing I care about is the fact that my chute opens up. Outside of that, it's just beautiful. It's just bliss. And that's the one thing that a lot of us had as a child, right? Eating cereals probably caused us to get to that place. Watching shows probably caused us to get to that place. Chilling with our friends. Riding a bike. I don't remember the last time I rode on a bike. My girlfriend says she doesn't know how to ride a bike, so I need to teach her. Ride a bike. Go climbing. Go climb a tree. Don't climb a tree. I climbed a tree, fell and broke both of my wrists. That was not cool. Anyway, do whatever you have to do to go back into your inner child. So the one thing that I want everyone to do, the one self-care piece that I want everyone to implement within their self-care regimen, do something to go back into your inner child and just get a sense of being carefree. Because a lot of us forget what that feels like. I've forgotten what that feels like. I'm sure everybody in this room has forgotten what that feels like. But it's so beautiful once you're able to get to that place. All right? So, moving on forward into the main topic. Dr. Jan. Hey. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well. So, I have Dr. Jan here. How are you doing first and foremost before we get into everything?
It's a Sunday night. I'm doing pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Trying to pretend like Monday's not tomorrow.
You ready for the week?
Yeah. Mostly?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just focusing on Thanksgiving, you know. Just a shorter week. I have Thursday off, so.
Okay.
That makes it all better.
When you have Thursday off, I'm gonna be at work on Thursday.
Oh, really?
I mean, I could get Thursday off if I wanted to, but you know, it's holiday pay. Like,
oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'm gonna be cooking and eating, and yeah.
And it's only a selected things I can eat on Thanksgiving anyway. Because you know I don't eat meat. I'm a vegan.
You make it a vegan Thanksgiving. My best friend's family does that.
Yeah, so I don't know nobody that's making no vegan Thanksgiving.
You just have them bring some dishes for you.
We got greens.
Beans, greens, tomatoes,
Right.
potatoes, tomatoes, chicken, turkey. You name it. Yeah, you name it.
Anything.
That song is gonna. I don't know who made it, but they just that is the Thanksgiving song for eternity.
Exactly. So the one thing that we're speaking about today, right? We're speaking about identity, right? Identity, and identity in many aspects of it, right? Identity, self-identity. Who do you choose to identify with? Your identity as a mixed race, your identity as just wherever, right? So first question to you.
Yeah.
When I say, who do you identify with? What's the first thing that pops up in your head?
Oh man. Well, I guess because I'm here, the first thing I start thinking about is like being a psychologist. But so it depends on the context I'm in.
Okay.
So I guess I should ask you, like, in what way are you asking? There's so many aspects to identity. So I went career
Let's
first.
say this. As a child, because I spoke about that earlier. As a child, who would you say you identify with?
You mean racially?
No, just in general. It could be racial. It could be anything.
I mean, I think as a kid, I was just being me. I wasn't thinking about identifying with anything. I was just being myself. It's that other people started to, put you in boxes essentially and kind of be like, well, little girls don't do that, or oh, blah blah blah, So then you got to start thinking about, oh, am I supposed to be doing things a certain way? I thought I was just being myself. So I think as a child, I probably didn't think about it until others kind of made me have to think about it.
Did you feel as if, and whenever we're working with people, do you feel as if we are forced to align with those, I guess, cultural identities that are out there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's just how society is built. We create categories. I mean, what I always think about is that we as humans, we need to categorize people to understand how to interact with them. So as soon as we see someone, we're like, bing, 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 like, oh, they're this, they're this, they're this, they're this. And then if they don't match up with that, then we have to, like, rearrange it in our own mind to be like, oh, I thought you were in this group, so you're telling me you're in that group? Okay, how do I want to interact with that group? Or how do I normally, talk to somebody in that group?
Why do you feel like we need to do that, though?
It just makes it easier for us. If I have a bowl of fruit, that's a category. And then when I present something new to you, if you never had a mango, your brain wants to put it somewhere like, well, what is this thing? And then if you already know fruit, you already know oranges, you already know bananas. And I'm like, mango, you never had a mango, it's a fruit. Then you can be like, oh, wait a minute, I like fruit. I interact with fruit this way, oh, I might like that. Versus maybe if you're like, I hate all fruit, then you're like, nah, I don't want to try a mango because you said it was a fruit. You know what I mean? That's what our brain does. So we do with humans too.
Yeah. It's important. And I was talking to my girl about this. I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
Whenever I go out, the first thing I do is like, okay, how many black folks is here? Like, how many black folks is here? I remember when we went to the skydiving place like a few weeks ago, and before then I had told her I'm only going to see probably about 3 black people here. Sure enough, I only seen about 3 black people there that whole entire day. And for me, the reason why I feel as if I have to do that is, and even when I do see those black people, it's not even that I need to go out and communicate with those black people. It's just kind of like what you said. In what box, I guess, where do I belong? However, on one end, I sometimes think that could be a hindrance on me personally. Only because I can recall there are many times in which I would get invited to certain places and I would not go because I don't think there's going to be enough black people there.
Right.
Or if there is black people there, I don't think there will be black people that I would align with. How do you think identity gets in the way of us doing whatever we want to do?
I think what you said is a really good point, because sometimes what we think we're supposed to do or how we're supposed to be then ends up limiting ourselves.
Yeah.
So society puts this limit on us and says, okay, I don't know, you're a woman, so this is how you're supposed to be, this is how you're supposed to behave. So then I might now say to myself, oh, I can't do this thing, I can't do that thing because they said women are not supposed to, so it's really, I end up limiting myself rather than saying, wait, I like these things, so why can't I just go? But I think, if we speak about race, then, I mean, it's the same idea. It's just, if we go somewhere, you might feel less comfortable. You are put in this place of like, okay, well then how should I interact? Are they expecting me to interact a certain way? Can I interact in my authentic way? Yeah. Are they going to understand it if I do? Do I need to code switch right now? And so it's all, if you really think about it, it's still all other focused. Yeah. It's not like I'm just going to be me in every space that I'm in. It's like, in this space, how do I need to behave? How do I need to adjust? Do I need to adjust? Are they going to judge me if I don't? And so sometimes if we have to go through too much of that, we're going to be like, well, I'm just not going to go.
Yeah, this is a lot about the way we really care about the other person's opinion. Yeah. Right? There's a lot of people out there who says like, oh, I don't care what this person says. I don't care what that person says. But the areas or the rooms that we move in, it says we kind of do care about that person's opinion. Yeah. And I can go back into thinking, and I don't mind to bring my girlfriend into this, but I can go back into thinking, our relationship and the battles, not her necessarily, but the battles I have to face in the beginning of our relationship, because my girlfriend is biracial, and I'm so big on like black everything, like everything black, and my girlfriend doesn't look black. Right. However, genetically, she will be considered black. Right? So for me, it was about, okay, Willis, at what point will you get to the process of, are you going to be in this relationship for the sake of yourself or for the opinions of the culture? Right? Because I'm worried about that. So that caused me, okay, who am I going to choose to identify with? Am I going to allow my identity to be defined by what everyone else think what black is, or am I going to allow myself to be identified what I think what black is? And that was a trying moment within itself, but I never truly understood how hard it was to get through the whole aspect of figuring out your own identity or figuring out who you want to identify. Because I've always been a relatively confident individual when it comes to, Willis, and I know I'm the shit, and I know I'm dope, and all these other things, but at that moment, it was kind of hard to figure out, okay, in what area would I want to identify with?
I mean, I think what you're also talking about is like, what does it mean to be black? And if that definition is too limited, then you feel like you're stepping outside of it until you realize that the diversity of how, what it means to be black, it spans, it spans way more than what the stereotypes say. So if you don't limit yourself to stereotypes, then you can be like, oh shoot, okay, I can be me, and I'm always going to be black. I don't have to be black the way you said I need to be black.
How do you think someone gets to that point to where they're like, forget it, I'm just going to identify with whatever I choose to identify with?
Yeah, that to me, I love talking about that, because theorists write about that. They write about the stages of identity and like how we grow into.
There's stages to it?
Yeah, stages. Like the early stages are, I'm not black. I'm just, I'm just me. And I'm going to try everything I can to be like white and do everything that like the dominant culture does, because that's better. And, oh, you guys are ghetto. I don't want to do that because I'm better somehow. And then they have this moment. There's another stage where it's a moment of like, wake up. Like, oh, shoot. Well, everything I thought might not be right.
So now you woke.
Yeah. So now, now they're not woke yet. They got slapped in the face, and so now they're starting to wake up like, oh, okay. And now they start exploring like, okay, well, if all this time they told me that was bad, or that was ghetto, or that was ratchet, or whatever word we want to use that usually means like negative stereotypes, then they start questioning it, then they start, trying to push forward, then they can get to that place where they're like, oh, wait, there is no one way, and I figured out who I am, and I figured out who I am as it fits in with this larger group of, black people, and now I have the confidence to be me and still be a part of this group.
Where does What is that? What is the lack or the challenges with your identity do you believe starts from? Is it started, the root of it is more so internally, or is it because of socially, or?
I mean, where does it start? It starts in adolescence, really. Like, just by virtue of becoming a teen, then our eyes are open and we're like, oh, wait, like, this is how the world works? Like, so then where do I fit into the world?
Yeah.
And now I got to figure it all out, because all of, first 13 years of your life, you're just skipping down the street like, la, 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 I'm just me. Yeah.
Okay.
Until someone was like, you're supposed to. You ain't being black enough. And, oh, you're mixed. And, oh, you're just black. And then everybody's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So now then they have to do the work of introspection and figuring it out and, spending some time thinking about it.
But it's a lot of people. I can say me, I've had to do it on my own. Mm-hmm. Figuring out who you are and what you like. And I'm not sure which stage this was fall in, but, being able to gain that confidence and say, like, I am who I am type of thing, and I don't really care what you're talking about. But there's so many, I could say, friends that I have who I personally know who still to this day, like, reach out to figure out which clique they belong to or where they belong in. When it comes to adults who are still dealing with identity crisis or are still having these challenges with identity, where is the speed bump from? Like, why do you think it's still kind of rocky for them to figure that out?
Because there's always new situations in life. Like, I don't think it's a constant thing. I don't think you get to a place and then you're like, I officially know who I am, the end.
So it's fluid.
It's always fluid. It's always moving. You always have new interactions where that shakes you up again and you're like, oh, I thought I figured this out, but now I got this extra piece I want to try to navigate or answer for myself. And so it should be a constant growth to me, like a constant movement.
So is our identity defined by our experiences, or is our identity defined by something else?
I think it's in response to our experiences.
Okay.
Because you have the experience, and then that makes you think about, where do I fit in with this? Who am I? How am I gonna ground myself in this new experience?
And does it matter if that experience is positive or negative? No?
I mean, the negative ones, of course, are going to hit us harder, so then we do more thinking. Positive ones, maybe you won't think about it, because if it's good, you're like, yeah, cool. That's what I thought I was. And you guys like it too,
But it's the negative ones that's going to cause us to really focus on it.
Yeah. There's a conflict, right?
Yeah. It's interesting to think of the fluidity of our identity, right? Because I always like to say, who you are today is who you are right now. You don't know who you're going to be tomorrow or 2 years from now. Like, there could be something, as soon as we walk outside this door, there could be something that's going to flip all of our lives in half, and then we're going to choose to identify it as that. But when it comes to, a lot of the times we try to fight with one identity.
Yeah.
Why though?
Well, I mean, I think we're always dealing with all of our different parts of our identity, but some cause or need more work than others. So if it's a mixed race person, probably more of their effort is going to be around this idea of, like, figuring out the multiple sort of racial backgrounds, because society is like, no, you need to answer that for me. I don't know. So they might be like, okay, being a woman, I figured that out. No one was really questioning me. That seems settled. Mm-hmm. But this other piece, I keep getting conflict from it. Mm-hmm. I keep coming into new experiences where it's making me have some conflict, and I got to rethink it again, and I got to rethink it over here.
Yeah.
When I go to the party, I got to rethink it again. So
that sounds exhausting.
I don't think it's exhausting. I think for some people it could be. Yeah. If you're constantly having conflict and then you are stuck and you can't find an answer, then I do think it can get exhausting.
But what?
And that goes for whether you're monoracial or mixed race. Black people can find it to be exhausting, especially if it's like, there's this young lady I know. She's like, I want to say goth, but it's not quite goth. She's kind of like emo world. She's a black girl, but she wears what I'm calling, like, goth clothing.
Like very dark.
Yeah, it's like real alternative world, and her hair is funky, and she's got, like, different piercings, and she just likes different music, and she likes different stuff. And for her to be like, I'm a black woman, she's constantly getting, like,
smacked in the face.
Yeah, because
this
they're
isn't
like,
what black women.
right.
This is.
So she's got to
white
constantly
people
be like, this is the music I like. This is how I want to dress, and I'm still black. And you're gonna stop, questioning me about that. Like I'm just not gonna.
It's the constant fight for acceptance.
Yeah, in a way, because she's got her own level of acceptance until she comes up against society that makes her have to question both and like prove to you and then reprove to herself.
Yeah.
So it does create that element of like, am I doing it wrong? Like, should I do it this way? And almost like a little bit of imposter-y type of, because everybody keeps asking
exactly.
you.
Yeah,
And
then it pops up in my head is, do you actually want to be accepted by that constant wall?
Right. I mean, that's what ends up being the question. And maybe that girl might be like, well, that's why then I just reject all black people because you don't, and then people are like, well, you can't do that. Then you're a sellout. And she's like, oh, shoot.
and I guess that would explain why a lot of the mixed race individuals that I know who they just choose to identify with like nothing in terms of, because I'm either not black enough or I'm either not this enough, or anything like this, right? Because I don't look the part, right? I have a lot of friends who are mixed race, and the one question that I'm not even mixed race, but the one question that used to irritate me, and I know for a fact it would irritate them, is, what are you?
Yeah,
are you
that's
this?
a classic question.
Are you that? And you're a mixed race individual, correct? What was that fight like for you growing up, or has it kind of been something?
It's different for every mixed race person. I think so. Phenotype is the way you look, right?
Yes.
So I think the more your phenotype doesn't fit in a box for other people, then you get that question a lot. So a lot of times I got the opposite. Like, people would not see me as a mixed race person because, I got the curly hair, I got dark, but I just look like a black woman. Yeah. And I am a black woman, but people would just be like, oh yeah, there she is. Unless black people have enough of a, I made up a word, mixed dar, like radar.
Like gaydar, but mixed dar?
Yes, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, but I like it, okay? Mixed dar.
Like that.
I'm going to coin it. But black people have that because we're so used to racial intermixing in our history. You got Creole, you got whatever. So we're used to seeing all different colors and combinations. So a lot of times black people will be like, what are you mixed with? So the question is different because you get the with. Instead of like, what are you? It's like, what are you mixed with? Because they're like, I already know you're black.
Yeah.
Just tell me. I know there's something else in there. You know what I mean?
But do you think sometimes that can open the door for someone who may have low self-esteem? Because I can remember a lot of black people say, yeah, I'm black, but I'm mixed with like Indian. And I'm putting this Indian above my blackness.
Yeah. Well, I think you're talking about internalized racism and stuff too, where that person is like, somehow being black feels like a bad thing, and now I need to somehow elevate myself with, I don't support that.
And race is a very complicated thing.
Yeah.
But how does a mixed race individual choose to identify which race they identify with? Like, say for example, if you did not look black,
right,
would you still identify as black?
I mean, technically, I can't answer that question, but but if you look at it like I'm black and South Asian, so what you're really asking me is, do I not identify with South Asian? And that would be ridiculous. I've always been both. Yeah. And I've always known myself to be both. It's only society when they're like, wait, what? How's that? And I'm like, wait, you need to figure that out. Yeah. I already know. I already been it since I was a child. You know what I mean? It's not like I am just now discovering, oh my God, I'm mixed with, what does that mean? It's like, to me, that's the crux of the issue for a mixed race population, is a kid has always known they were mixed. They always know who mom was. They always know who dad was. Yeah. They looked in the mirror. They had, whatever. And it's until they come up against other people that are like, that's not right. You can't be that. Which one are you going to choose? Oh, but which one are you more? But which one do you really identify with? All that stuff. They're like, wait, what? Like, why do I have to do that? And so then it's when they have to sit back and be like, do I have to do that? How do I do that? Yeah. And so, for me, I've always, I think living in Southern California, it's a lot more diverse.
Yeah, it's easier.
A little bit easier to kind of say what I am and say, oh, I'm half this, I'm half that, that kind of thing. And so my experiences, I assert it more. And maybe, it might be partly because I'm extroverted and it's just who I am. I'm just like, you're going to know who I am. So I'm always like, oh, I'm this and that. And then they're like, oh, what's that? So now I get to tell you about it. And now you know. And the end.
It's just interesting how we choose to, how the outside chooses to identify you with outside of your appearance. Right? So let's say, for example, do you know who the rapper Logic is? Logic is half white, half black.
Right.
But he looks white. Right.
Unless you have not seen light-skinned black people, because he looks more, he could pass if he wanted to. But
you think so?
If he really wanted, if he wanted to pass for white, he probably could.
He could pass for white.
Yeah.
He can't pass for black.
No, you don't. Well, yeah,
So for my question is, what if Logic was to be like, okay, I'm going to choose to, because I understand what my white side of my, I guess, culture or heritage or race or whatever have done, I'm going to choose to identify with my blackness, the black side of my family. Do you believe that's right or wrong, or do you believe that's just, it is what it is?
I don't think it's right or wrong. I think, if you talk about white other, it brings in an extra piece of the puzzle, which is white privilege. And white privilege, part of like whiteness in America, the identity is having the privilege.
Yes.
And so when you don't look it, you don't have the privilege. And so it's hard to like incorporate your whiteness, because you're feeling like the world does not allow me to like access this whiteness because my phenotype is already like brown, or my hair is curly, or whatever it is that's no longer white. So I think, if you're mixed race, white other or white black, that's the kind of the struggle there, is kind of like, well, how do I incorporate whiteness? How do I navigate the history of this group of people and accept, that I'm a part of that? And, that can bring up, a lot of like socially conscious stuff, like, oh man, I don't want to be associated with that, and blah, blah, blah. But you need to get to the point where it's like, okay, because whiteness in America is a culture, it does have a background. So you need to be able to find like the non-ugly parts and be like, all right, that's what I know. Like, for example, I was working with a family, and this was a teen that's white other, and part of the white identity for her, she had kind of realized, was like doing holiday traditions that were kind of like very, very American, until she realized it wasn't like American, but it's like white American. Like, maybe just off the top of my head, let's just say like pumpkin carving. Now, everybody can do that now. Anybody, but it's probably that immigrant populations or racial minorities added it later because they learned it from white Americans. But it was such a tradition for her, and she realized, oh, wait, my non-white side of the family does not do pumpkin carving. They ain't thinking about pumpkins. They don't care about going to the pumpkin patch, like all that kind of stuff. But it was very serious for like her grandparents, and it was a whole thing. So she's like, okay, that's what I'm incorporating into my identity, and how I incorporate like this being white kind of piece of it. I don't have to be like, oh, I'm tied to, I don't know, neo-Nazis. Like, you don't have to put that part of your identity.
Yeah, figure out which part of...
And then make it a whole person, so that you don't feel like you have to choose and be one. You're always going to be both. So you figure out how you want to incorporate it and how you want to live your life. Again, the people that write about mixed race identity, they're saying they'll, kind of give the freedom of, you can be who you want to be when you want to be it. There are no rules. There are no... Okay, but you have to be black. Oh, Logic, you're black. You got to be black. Oh, President Obama, you're just a black man. He can be like, look, I'm going to identify as a black man, and I'll be the first black president. No problem. Yeah. But I also have a white grandma, have a white, he's not going to be afraid to talk about it. He's not going to hide it. Yeah. He's like, you guys figure out how you want to deal with it, but I had a white mom, and I love my white grandma, and that was my life, Yeah.
It's really, what it sounds like, it's just really about, at the end of the day, it's just really what you choose, how you choose to define your identity.
Right.
Because I like what you said in terms of our identity is a response to our experience.
Right.
Our identity is a response to our experience, but that response to the experience has to be defined by how you take it in, I guess.
Right.
Right? Because I can pull the negative, I can pull the positive from the side, right?
Right.
There are some individuals who I would prefer to choose my white side because of the privileges that come along with it versus me choosing the black side because there are certain disadvantages that come along with it. But when it comes to, now let me ask you this. When it comes to identity, with mixed race individuals, gosh, I just forgot my question.
It's all right. It'll come back to you.
I absolutely.
You got to go back in the
hate it
room
when
where you left it. You know how you do, like leave
somewhere
something.
back then when it comes to
Right. Retrace your steps in your mind. Back to where you left the question.
it's gonna pop up somewhere, somehow, somewhere, some way. But identity, right? When it comes to identity and when it comes to mixed race individuals, one thing that's interesting me, and we were speaking about this earlier when it comes to the dissertation that you wrote about.
Yeah.
This is the question I was questioning, but this
Right,
is something
it's another one.
It's another one, right? When it comes to the dissertation that you told me about earlier, in terms of how mixed race individuals may be a little bit more culturally diverse.
Exposed. More cultural exposure.
Culturally exposed to, different races or to different sides, things like that. My question is this: do you think they themselves have a difficult time accepting whichever culture they choose to identify with based upon what society is telling them to identify with? If that makes sense.
I think what I hear you saying is like you say like which one they chose to identify with, and I don't think it has to be one or the other. I think that's the only correction I would make, because you can identify with both 2 and 3 all at the same time. Okay. Just like we're all, I don't know, Native Californians. I could be 3 things at once. I'm a Native Californian, I'm a woman, and I'm a psychologist. Those are 3 different identities. You know what I'm saying? So to say, oh, you have to choose one or you have to choose other, to me, it's a very like categorizing binary kind of thing that we're like, oh, so you're 2 things? Well, you got to be one because you can't be both, which is it's just not true.
Yeah, I think it's tough for me to get. It's tough for me to get through the identity is fluid type of thing, right? Because obviously, me, I identify as being a black, I identify as being a male, I identify as being a therapist, I identify as being...
And what your brain is doing is saying not just those things, but you're saying, I identify as black as opposed to white, blah, blah, blah. I'm a male, not a female. I'm a this, not a that. So you're saying a mixed race person, you have to be a this, not a that. And they're like, nope, I'm already 2 or 3 into one at the same time. And that's what people struggle with. Yeah. They even give it a name. They call it monoracism.
Monoracism?
Mm-hmm. Because there's monoracial means, both parents came from the same racial group. So I'm monoracial. Mixed race, right? Mixed race means one parent is from one racial group or more than one, and then the other parent is from another racial group. And so monoracism means my belief that you have to be one race. And so if I meet someone that's white and black, I got to be like, so which one are you?
Pick one.
Yeah. Pick one, Logic. And Logic's like, yo, can I just like be? I can't pick. They literally can't pick one. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like literally him as a human. He's like, I am already both.
Yeah.
How in the world, how can I unown half of my being?
Yeah.
Like,
and that's a concept that's obviously... I can thoroughly understand why I'm having difficulty. I understand it, but I can understand the struggle within my understanding of it because I am of one race. Right. Right?
You are monoracial, right. Yeah. So it's hard for you to shift and see another perspective because it's not your experience. Right?
Was that difficult for you?
What part? To be a mixed race and like...
To accept both ends.
No, I don't think it was.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, my experience is different. I can't say what I experience is going to be like everybody else's, but I had, very accepting family on both sides. I'm like, I'm connected to cousins and aunts and uncles, and they're all just like, that's just Jen. Like, she is, she's us and she's that, and they want to know both, and they get a chance to, like, when I'm with one side of the family, they want to know about the other. So tell me about, what kind of food, and what about this? And then when I'm on the other side, I can talk about, whatever the other one wants to know. And so my experience was not so much of, a reality is a lot of mixed race folks might have one side of the family that could be rejecting or not accepting. And so I didn't have so much of that. I'm, grateful for that experience. But so I, to your question, it wasn't as difficult in that sense. I didn't have to constantly face it within my own family. Someone saying, you're not this.
Got it. Okay. My question came back.
Yeah, okay.
It came back because of the mono-racism.
Okay.
I'm going to say a word, and I want you to tell me what you think of this word.
Okay.
Transracial.
Oh, God. I don't like that word, and I think it's stupid.
Why?
Because there's no such thing. Transracial. The only reason why we're saying this word is because of what's her face, and she. Yeah, I was trying not to say her name. Rachel Dolezal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of her and her inventions.
But do you think there is some fact in that?
No, I do not. What she tried
Take her
to
out of it.
Yeah. But I mean, I can't. My brain literally can't, because she's the one that introduced that term. Nobody else was using this term until she decided I'm going to sound academic and give this new term. And everybody that's in the world of academics heard it and it was like,
what?
Dude, stop, all I think that word is trying to get at is movement and membership in multiple groups. And I think culturally, to me, what that word should be talking about is like someone who is bicultural. Someone who lives and interacts and moves in multiple environments. So I could be, I could be Filipino and I grew up in Watts and I grew up all around black people, low income, whatever. So even though my family's Filipino, I deeply get, I experienced like a black surrounding and culture, and I get it. It's not mine.
Yeah.
And I know my Filipino stuff too, but that to me would be what people are trying to get at. Because she tried to say, oh, I was so exposed and, whatever.
I feel like
but I'm like, you are not the first person that had the experience that you're talking about. And everybody else that had your experience didn't all of a sudden say, and I'm black. That Filipino that grew up in Watts is still going to be like, I'm Filipino, but I'm straight from Watts and I'm doing this and I know the lingo and I know the music and everybody accepts me and, that kind of thing. And they're just like, I'm doing both things.
The white person from the projects is still the white person.
That's what I'm saying, right? Yeah. So to me, yeah.
Okay.
Not to bring her up, otherwise I will talk about her, because I think she's done such a disservice. Imagine, why can't you be pro-black the way that she is and still be a white woman? Imagine how much more change you can make if you were as public as you were about championing black causes and leading the NAACP and all that kind of stuff. As a white woman, you could influence so many white people, but you felt you needed to like be black to do that.
And I think that goes into her privilege as a white woman.
Totally.
That she could do
absolutely
that, right?
Absolutely.
I feel weird saying the audacity, but
it is audacity.
The audacity that you could think that you could do that says a lot about your white privilege. Obviously, you would have done a better justice if you were just like, yes, I'm white, and I'm going to use my white privilege to do these things.
That would be beautiful.
Way more important.
That's what everybody should be doing. But she's like, no, I'm actually going to step all over you guys and try to act like I am you. What? No.
And she's still... All right, let me get off of that.
Yeah. See? That's what I'm saying. It's a rabbit hole. Yeah. But there are lots of conflicting opinions about her. Some people are like, oh, I think she totally can do what she's doing and it makes sense. And I'm like, there is no way at all to convince me of that.
No.
It's a problem.
No. You You can't wake up and
because look at the core. This is the last thing I said.
Go ahead.
The core of it is that she has not accepted who she is. And if we're talking about identity, and for me, the most important piece of identity is you accept yourself first. Then you be whoever you are going to be wherever you go. But she has not accepted herself because she's trying to be something else.
That's exactly where I was just about to get at.
Right.
Get away from her.
Yeah. Let's get away from her, please.
At the end of the day, the core, right? Who do you identify with at the core, right? And are you comfortable with that identity?
Right.
That's a long and hard road,
yes.
right? Especially if we've been chastised our whole life about it, especially for our parents, right? If we see our mother, who is a woman, a black woman, and she's anti-black everything,
right?
We start to equate certain negative stereotypes of blackness because of the way we were raised and things like that.
Yep.
But I want to go back to the stages of which you spoke about, right? When it comes to those stages, at what stage do you think it is for a person? And I believe it's the life smacking you in the face, waking up stage, in which a person starts to realize that their own upbringing is wrong, right? So say, for example, it's a woman who is a black mother who is just like, I don't like black people because I don't like black men because black men are this and that and that and this, and that causes that child to be anti-black man because of this and that and that and this. Do you think for that individual who is going to get smacked in the face, do you think it's hard for that person to accept, or do you think it just depends on wherever the support is coming from?
I think to get smacked in the face like that, it is going to be hard for them. But they have one or two choices. They can probably build up an environment around them where they never have to think about it. Because people that are, let's say someone that grew up in a house like that was told everything black is bad. Yeah. Most likely they were now chosen friends and society and
they created their environment to align with what
right. And so they're not going to get too challenged. And if they do get challenged, they can just retreat to that environment and be like, you see how they treated me? That's why I don't like them, And so they don't have as much of a chance to be like pushed to really think. So it's very easy for us as humans to not think about things and not introspect, and do the work that we need to do. We can just go back to our little comfort zone and continue doing what we're doing.
That makes me think about Oreos, quote unquote, right?
Like this negative term,
Oreos.
Every culture has their version of it.
Yeah, and because I can think back in college, and I went to an all-black school, HBCU, and you would see black people who, quote unquote, spoke white. Right? They spoke white and they dressed a certain way. And I could even remember myself just growing up because I thought if you were black, your blackness aligned with. Blackness was equal to being poor, and poor was equal to you being a certain way. Right. So when I went to college and I seen, hey, there are a bunch of black kids out here wearing suits and talking like this, and blah blah blah.
Right. They can't be black.
Nah.
Yeah. You had a 2-parent household and multiple cars. You're not black.
Not black at all. And I think it's important to understand that our environment has a whole lot to do with who we choose to identify with and how we choose to identify with. Because, I've came across some black people who have said they've never really spent time around black folks. Yeah. And they choose to not, even though they themselves identify with being black, they purposely choose to not want to hang around black folks because black folks don't accept him as being black because he doesn't fit black category.
Whatever they expect of it. Right.
And I think that's a very, very hard thing to get over because it's like, how do I begin to accept myself, or how do I begin to accept myself when the people that I'm trying to get acceptance by doesn't even want to accept me?
Right. I mean, to me, I think yes, on the surface, that is a very difficult thing. Until that person, I think, can sit back and say, maybe I'm not interacting with the right segment of this very diverse group.
Okay.
Because if it's just in my mind one picture of black people and that particular segment is rejecting me, surely there are other and I just need to go and find my tribe within my group, and then I will, rather than reject the whole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think, but that would take some introspection. That would take probably some help, some mentorship, somebody giving you a little tip here and there about, well, there's other black people out there, that kind of thing, to then go and find it. To me, I think that would be the beauty of an HBCU, where someone that might have had that experience before could show up on that campus and be like, oh,
that definitely,
there are so many.
That definitely is the beauty of an HBCU. Because like I said, I am guilty of that, right? Because I grew up out here. I grew up in Watts.
Yeah.
Right? So all I knew was the projects and the hood.
Right.
I ain't see no other black people outside.
Exactly.
So when I went to Clark, Atlanta, and I see black people wearing suits and speaking a certain way and things of those sorts, my first judgment of them was like, nah, you weird. So I'm not really...
Right, you're different.
Exactly. I'm not messing with you.
Yeah.
However, as time goes along, you begin to understand that because of where they at, because of where they were raised or their environment, that doesn't take away from their blackness.
Right.
There's different sectors, like what you said.
Right.
We have the rich black folk, we have the poor black folk,
Right.
we have the middle class black folk, we have, the
Black folk with West Indian parents, black folk with African parents, black folks with, that came from like New York. Like I went to college in Michigan, and again, I'm from Cali. I knew black Cali people. We're different. I know. I had 3 winters. That's enough snow for me. But I met people from like New York, and it was fascinating to me. I'm like, look at how they talk.
Yeah.
What are these Timberlands you say you wear on your feet? Like it was fascinating. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what did you call that? Like dudes from the South, people from Midwest, and they're all black, and they're all so different. And we'd all sit around and talk about differences, fashion and slang and like, just even that's just within the U.S.
Once you start to understand the diaspora of it all, you start to be like, okay,
right.
It's not just me.
Right, exactly. And I'm just talking about states, and then you bring in like Virgin Islands and the Caribbean and, like I said, African countries and other, Afro-Latino. And then I'm just like, oh, this is, I loved it, because I'm like, look at all, like, and all of us would hang out together because we're all black people.
Yeah.
But you're going to make a slightly different dish than you're going to make, and you're going to, you're going to bring some food, and we're going to all try it, and we're all going to be like, that's similar to what we make. Now that we call it that, and well, you didn't make it right, and we put this in it. I mean, it's all the same food, same people, same everything. That's the diversity,
that's
right?
That's going to be one bomb-ass potluck.
Yes, yeah, they were.
So I want to move forward into the question that I don't come up with. Well, I come up with, but I don't really write down.
Okay.
And this question is based upon what we were speaking about directly before the show.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you this quote, and I want you to tell me what you think.
Oh, Lord, I already know.
All right. I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. Let's say it again. I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am.
The last part is just so confusing. So I say the last part again. I am
who I think you think I am.
Yeah, I just have a problem with that. I am who I think you think I am. I would like to switch that.
Into what?
I mean, I think it should be like, I just think it'd be like, I am who I am, and you may not think the same thing. But it might be I am, or maybe you think I am something, but I'm going to tell you who I am. I don't know. I just think there should be a clash there, not I am this, I don't like identity that comes from the outside only. I guess that's what I get from that last part. And that to me doesn't feel very like assertive / done my self-work and landed on some confident place.
Feel genuine. It doesn't feel authentic.
Yeah, so that's why I don't like that.
Yeah. And that
last
that right there, that's why that's my favorite quote, right? Only because it deals with identity, right?
Yeah,
Thank you,
for sure.
Thank you, Didier, for bringing that up.
Right.
Right. it deals with identity, because to me that last part says we live in a perception of a world.
Right.
Right. I'm not only living in my perception, but I'm also living in the perception that I think your perception is of me, and that's hard because I don't know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think of me. Right. That's why I always have to tell people, like, hey, you may think I'm ugly, you may think I'm this, you may think I'm that, or whatever. I'm just going to do whatever I can, right? And that's to, like, a lot of folks, just do whatever you can, because we don't know what that other person is thinking. That other person may be thinking you're dope.
Yeah. You know, that last part of that quote reminds me of, like, W.E.B. Du Bois and his double consciousness.
Yes.
Like, it kind of gets at that, where a lot of people write about black people. Part of the identity struggle for black people is that we're always trying to be the thing that someone else said we were. Someone else defined us as, I don't know, violent, or someone else defined us as whatever it is, you know? And so then we tried to fit that expectation almost, but that's not authentic to who we are. And so then every time we try to push against it, you're left with this picture that someone else wrote. Someone else wrote the jive talking, whatever.
Yeah, we took on code switching as a positive thing.
But I think it's even more than code. Code switching means I know who I am, and in this environment, I'm behaving a little different because it's work and I need to talk a different way. To me, double consciousness means I'm not even really sure who I really am because you told me it. I didn't find it out myself. You told me what I was supposed to be. You told me I was supposed to like hip-hop, so that's the only music I ever played. And how do I really know that's the only music I liked? I didn't do any exploration. I didn't think about it. I just was worried that you were going to kick me out of the group unless I listened to it. You know? To me, that's, double consciousness of...
Get it.
Yeah. To me, that's what I heard in that last part. It's like, who you think I can't even repeat it properly.
I am who I think you think I am.
Right. That's what that means. This. moving my hand back and forth.
It's the double back and forth. We're always going back and forth.
Right.
But at what point are we going to be able to stop going back and forth and just I am who I think I am?
Yeah.
And I believe that's why the very first part for me is also interesting.
Yeah.
In saying, like, I am not who I think I am. And I am not who you think I am, because it's hard to accept, who I think I am, because am I right? Is this beneficial? Is this going to help me in the long run? Is this going to give me what I need in life? Are people going to accept this? We are, a lot of the times we are focused on the outside appearance, the outside opinion, and the judgments of others, in which our identity is all. Now, I'm not going to say always, but it's easy for our identity to be defined by someone else. But, for everyone else that's listening right now, those individuals who are particularly struggling with identity, and you don't even have to you don't even have to struggle with identity on like a mass or grand scale. It could be something small, right? Like, and I don't know why I'm thinking about imposter syndrome, but it could be something like that to me, right? For me, it was a hard, long time for me to identify as a therapist, only because the way and this goes back, I guess this goes back into the consciousness type of thing. Because the way that I was taught in grad school, the way therapy is supposed to be ran, I was taught that therapy is supposed to sit here, you're supposed to be there, and we're supposed to just go based upon some like psychoanalytic mumbo jumbo type of stuff. And in my mind, I could understand why that would work for that population, but not for my population. I didn't. When I first graduated from grad school, there's a part of me that didn't want to be a therapist because I didn't align with what a therapist was. I didn't align with what it was in those textbooks. So it goes back into me creating my own and
finding your authenticity within it. Yeah. That's identity. Right. And you had to do the work of, am I going to do it the way you said I should do it, or am I going to figure out how to do it in a way that still fits me and risk you telling me I'm rejected somehow or whatever.
Because at the end of the day, you are always going to feel way more comfortable doing the authentic thing that anybody dislikes versus doing the disingenuous thing that everybody likes.
Right.
You're
right.
always going to be more comfortable on the back end.
Right.
So, thank you.
This was
for
fun.
coming through. Thank you for
Thanks
coming
for having
through.
me.
Man, this was a. I can say this. This was probably one of the first shows that I can say I felt like I took the back seat. Yeah, one of the few shows in which I can say I feel like I took the back seat.
Well, you know, if you say identity to me, I'm gonna start talking.
I appreciate that because first, mono-racism, that's a term that I'm definitely finna do some more research on.
Right.
Those stages of identity is something I'm definitely gonna do some more research on because identity is something, I guess, me just being a male and me just being a straight black male, identity is something that I don't think I've had to deal with. Is that a privilege?
But I totally disagree with that statement. You have had to deal with identity on so many levels.
I don't think I never had to. I didn't have to fight with. Okay, I know I'm a male. I know I'm black.
Yeah, but you had to define how you were going to be a male. And I'm sure at some point you had to question how. You're telling me you grew up in Watts. There is a certain picture of what it is to be a male there, and you had to. And I'm gonna say being a therapist is probably not it. So at some point, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like you had to say, okay, am I gonna be a male the way that my environment is telling me I need to be a male, which is probably less emotional expression than being a therapist, which is like totally into, you know, thinking about and helping others process.
And this is why I took the back seat, because now that makes sense. Because I'm thinking back, like I was a kid that liked anime, and I like growing up as a kid, I used to really, really like computers. Like I taught myself how to code at a young age. I used to take apart computers, but I had stopped doing that because it wasn't a cool thing to do. My homeboys was playing football, out moving around, doing all these regular things, so I just gave it up and like, you know what, I'm finna roll with them.
Do you see?
Exactly. But now growing up, it's like I should have just stuck with that because now I really do like it. Blah,
but
blah,
you
blah.
wouldn't be able. You had to do that. You had to go and be like, all right, I'm going to do what they. And then you're like, this doesn't feel right. Let me go back to the thing you know what I mean? And now I will find my place and I will bring it all together into this new me, and I will call it Willis. You know?
Look at that out here, making me feel all good about my little trials. Right. As always, man, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
This ain't gonna be the last, you know that, right?
Right.
We got other things.
Yeah.
We got other times for you to come. But as always, if you want, tell people where they can see you or meet with you on Instagram.
Oh yeah, Instagram. I am Dr. Jen Psych. So that's DrJennPsych. So 2 N's. And I'm pretty much Dr. Jen Psych on everything. Mm-hmm. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, my website. So that's easy. Yeah, follow me on Instagram. It's probably where I'm the most active.
Instagram, the most active. That's the one that I can say I follow on her, and I appreciate it. I think the mixed dish reviews, I like those.
Yeah, I've been trying to do some reviews of the show Mixed Dish, and we'll see if I keep it up. It's a lot of work, but I'm enjoying it. I mean, you know, it's fun, but yeah, I'm trying to make sure I stay accountable for the whole season.
Hey, this is good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Good luck. As always, thank you to all those individuals who are listening and tuning in. Thank you to all those individuals if you're going to listen to this tomorrow, next month, next year. And I forgot to shout out this group of individuals, but thank you to these individuals who will never, ever, ever, ever listen to this show or never, ever listen to any sorts of mental health show because you feel as if you got it all intact. Shouts out to you, man, because you probably haven't caught on to it yet, but you will catch on to it eventually. As always, man, as always, ain't no wealth without your mental health. So please stay blessed and take care of yourself. Be great, y'all. Peace.